for Network Africa. Pope Leo is in Angola on the third leg of his 11-day Africa tour. He's in Angola, where he's met with President Lorenzo. Thousands demonstrate against Israel's new law allowing the execution of Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks. Plus, the Kenyan government signs a new law to increase government spending. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. A lot happened this weekend, so let's check in on the major stories that made headlines on the continent.
On Saturday, Zimbabwe marked its 46th Independence Day anniversary, with President Emerson Mnangagwa presiding over a military parade and other celebrations at Mafisa Stadium in Matabele Land South.
Today marks another historic milestone as we celebrate our 46th independence anniversary under the theme Zimbabwe at 46, Unity and Development towards Vision 2030.
On April 18, 1980, Zimbabwe gained independence from British colonial rule. The African nation gained its independence following the first democratic election, which was won by the indigenous people. Elsewhere on the continent, civil society groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo are raising concerns over what they call the government's lack of transparency regarding an arrangement with the United States to host third country deportees. Coordinator of the new Congolese civil society, Jonas Shombela, expressed disappointment, saying that it felt like the government had not learned anything from the 1994 refugee crisis.
Ces migrants n'ont jamais demandé de venir au Congo. Ils ont demandé d'entrer aux États-Unis.
Congo is not an experimental ground for U.S. migration policies or for adjusting policies where they come to experiment in Congo. Their choice was never the Congo. They wanted to enter the United States. If Americans have the means and space, they should take responsibility. The Congo already faces too many challenges.
Similarly, a writer, Ives Ponzo, expressed concern over the arrangement, adding that he thought it was fake news when he first heard of it.
Au départ, on a pensé que c'était de fake news.
We had heard that migrants deportees, that's really what we should call them, deportees from the U.S. government were going to land in Kinshasa. At first, we thought it was fake news because, let's be honest, our country is already struggling with a situation caused by taking in refugees.
The government had previously said that Washington will be providing logistical and technical support to accommodate the deportees. However, the announcement of the agreement has sparked mixed reactions in the country, which has experienced years of conflict, leading to widespread insecurity and a strain on critical infrastructure. And on Sunday, Pope Leo XIV presided over a mass attended by thousands in Calamba, marking the second day of his visit to Angola as part of his African tour. During his visit, the pontiff delivered a message of peace and reconciliation at the sanctuary of Mama Muxima and then distributed Holy Communion.
Irmãos e irmãs,
Brothers and sisters, in the first scene of the Gospel, I see reflected the history of Angola, of this beautiful and wounded country, with so much hunger and thirst for hope, peace and fraternity. The history of your country, the still difficult consequences you endure, the social and economic problems, and the various forms of poverty require the presence of a church that knows how to be close on the journey and knows how to hear the cry of its children.
The historic 10-day apostolic journey began in Algeria on April 13 and is due to continue in Angola and Equatorial Guinea through April 23.
Pope Leo XIV is still in Angola today. He traveled to the northwestern town of Sorimo, where he visited a nursing home. The Pope was welcomed with hymns and he blessed the elderly, praying with them and distributing rosaries to residents and staff. The pontiff expressed his gratitude to the residents for their resilience, adding, "I will carry in my heart the memory of this meeting with you." The Pope is scheduled to lead thousands in prayer at the Sorimo Esplanade later in the day. Pope Leo XIV's historic 10-day Africa tour, which began in Algeria on April 13, continues through Angola and is set to conclude in Equatorial Guinea later this week. Now, before Angola, Pope Leo was in Cameroon. He's since left, but Cameroonians have been reflecting on the impact of his visit to the country. For Eric Atcher, the executive director of the Africa Policy Forum in the UK, and Chris Anu, a journalist and founder of Africa Broadcasting Service, ATV, based in Houston, Texas, the Pope's visit afforded Cameroon the spotlight needed on the country's challenges. Both men shared their thoughts on our foreign affairs program, Diplomatic Channel. Let's help us understand, how many, probably a percentage of people in Cameroon who are religious, who may have, probably understood the purpose of the visit and, probably the reason behind it and the significance of it.
Cameroon is quite religious. We have a significant population that are Catholics. We are talking of about 38% of the population are Catholics. Then you have the Muslim population, which is mostly in the north of the country. And then the other denominations like the Pentecostals and so on. So in a nutshell, Cameroonians are quite religious. So when you saw that outpour of love, of welcome messages, embracing the Pope, it wasn't surprising to Cameroonians because they are used to this and this is what they all expected. And remember, Pope Leo is not the first Pope visiting Cameroon. In 1985, we had, I think, Pope John Paul II, who visited Cameroon twice. He was there in 1985. In 1995, he visited. And then we also had Pope Benedict visiting Cameroon in 2009. So Cameroonians are used to this atmosphere and they know how to make good use of it.
So, Chris, I know that you have been championing the cause of the Anglophone part of Cameroon, the people who are where they have separatist ideologies and they want to stand on their own. Somehow you are sort of a spokesperson for these people, and I believe that Bamenda is a region that falls under this category. As Eric said, it's not the first time there's been a papal visit to Cameroon. What impact has that had on the country at all?
I think the impact was huge, not just to the country as a whole. I think Bamenda, the southern Cameroons, English-speaking Cameroon, the Pope has never been there. And for the first time, the Pope came to Bamenda, the southern Cameroons, where war has been embroiling for 10 years. The level of enthusiasm can be attributed to, number one, the fact that the people thought this is somebody who can speak for us. This is somebody who understands our plight. This is somebody who can speak truth to power, referring to Yaoundé. They felt that this is somebody who can carry their message without filters to the powers that be, not just in Yaoundé, but also across the globe. That accounts for the reason of the excitement. But also, the people have suffered a lot. For 10 years, people live almost locked home the rest of their lives. The economy has crumbled. Everything has crumbled. And they were hoping that the Pope will come and speak to them what he is capable of doing, seeing what he saw, talking about bringing the conflict to an end.
You can watch more on the interview with Eric Atcher, the executive director of the Africa Policy Forum, and Chris Anu, founder of Africa Broadcasting Service, ATV, on Diplomatic Channel. It airs at 8:30 p.m. on Sky 515 if you're in the UK, and at 11:30 p.m. on DSTV 420 right here on Channels Television. Well, here in Nigeria, it's been a case of one attack too many in Kwara State. This time, residents of Kayama local government area woke up to the news of another round of violence as 4 soldiers and a member of the local vigilante team in Kemanji community were this morning killed when suspected terrorists launched a deadly attack on the border community. The incident, confirmed by members of the community, which is the headquarters of Kemanji Ward in Kayama local government area, happened in the early hours of today when gunmen attacked the security operatives. A resident described the incident as sudden and violent, saying bandits invaded Kemanji this morning at 3 in the morning, where the army and local vigilante engaged them in intense gun battle that lasted until 5 in the morning. The assailants, suspected to be armed terrorists, reportedly stormed the community without warning, engaged the security operatives, and left casualties on the side of military and local defenders. Reports say people fled their homes. During the attack, they sought safety in nearby bushes and neighboring communities at the sound of gunfire. At the time of this report this morning, it remained unclear whether any residents were abducted during the attack. Authorities are yet to give an official statement on the incident. Efforts to get official confirmation from the Kwara State Police Command and military authorities regarding the incident are yet to be confirmed and resourceful. To another hotspot on the continent, the DRC government and the Congo River Alliance rebel government has made a protocol on humanitarian access, judicial protection, and ceasefire oversight and the release of prisoners. This was agreed after both parties met in Switzerland for 5 days of negotiations with international mediators, including Qatar, the US, Togo, and the African Union. The meetings aimed at securing the implementation of the framework peace deal signed in Doha in November. In a joint statement on Saturday, the DRC and the rebels said they would facilitate the passage of humanitarian personnel and convoys. The parties also agreed to refrain from attacking civilian populations and infrastructure. This round of negotiations concluded with a commitment to release prisoners within 10 days. This measure involves 311 people detained by the AFC, M23, and 166 by the Congolese government. In Sudan, displaced people at the Ghoz al-Salam camp in Koste say they're suffering from a severe lack of basic necessities, including food and medicine, as the country's war enters its 3rd year. Early last week, children and displaced families were filmed inside worn-out tents, alongside scenes of children receiving lessons and women cooking. The United Nations World Food Programme says it is on the ground and ready to provide assistance in Sudan, but it is facing a severe funding shortfall, needing more than $600 million to prevent a reduction in aid.
Today we have nothing to eat inside the camp. Some organizations used to provide assistance like the Red Crescent, but they have stopped now. Even selling corn, which we sometimes relied on, is no longer available to help us get by. The last time a food basket was distributed was on the 17th day of Ramadan, and since then we have received nothing. During the period of war, the situation has been very difficult, especially regarding education. As students, we've been unable to attend school. When a student goes to school, they receive instructions that are reinforced at home, which affects their life and development. During this period, students' progress in behavior and social interaction is stalled, even at home.
There have been protests in Morocco over a new Israeli law that would allow the execution of Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks while reaffirming support for the Palestinian cause. Demonstrators marched in Rabat on Sunday. An estimated 5,000 people gathered along Mohammed V Avenue in central Rabat, waving Palestinian and Moroccan flags and chanting slogans against the death penalty and Israel's military actions in Gaza. The march was organized by the National Action Group for Palestine, a coalition bringing together Islamist and left-wing groups, including members linked to the Justice and Development Party. The new Israeli measure would make the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank found guilty of carrying out deadly attacks classified as terrorism by military courts. It also broadens the use of capital punishment in civilian courts under specific conditions. The law has drawn condemnation from the Palestinian authorities, human rights groups, and several foreign governments. Critics argue it risks creating a dual legal system and may conflict with Israel's constitutional framework. We're off on a break now. On Network Africa, still ahead. Senegal's former president Macky Sall is one of the 4 candidates auditioning for the role of UN Secretary General. Stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Kenya's President William Ruto has signed the supplementary budget appropriation bill 2026 into law, expanding Kenya's national budget by 393 billion shillings. This move aims to address key funding gaps in health, security, and infrastructure as part of the budget cycle slated for the coming fiscal period. Key aspects of this spending increase are security sector getting 7.5 billion shillings allocated for the national police, including 2.5 billion shillings for Kenya's peacekeeping mission in Haiti. In the health sector, significant funds are directed towards universal health coverage, including 3 billion shillings for the primary healthcare fund and 1.5 billion shillings for healthcare intern stipends. Now, in infrastructure and development, the law includes 16 billion shillings for roads and funding to support the Kenya Revenue Authority. Emergency relief is up at 5 billion shillings dedicated to drought relief interventions. Joining us now is Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ombati. Cyrus joins us from Nairobi. Cyrus, great to see you. And why is the government increasing its spending when many feel the government alone takes a huge chunk of the nation's budget?
Well, thank you for me the show. Actually, as you put it very clearly, the government overspending and whatever they had budgeted for the last 1 year, every Kenyan is feeling the pain of this spending because the Kenyans pocket themselves. And it comes at a time when you see the cost of fuel is increasing so fast and everyone is complaining about the spending that the government is actually going through.
And I see that substantial budget increases have been made towards State House, Interior, National Intelligence, and the police. Now, one could explain this away with Kenya having security challenges, but where do most people think that there should be a budget increase?
Well, that's an issue. Everyone is concerned here because people are saying that this is not the right time to increase the budget, given the time that elections are coming next year, and everyone is concerned that this money is being sent there to enable the security agencies to do their job the coming election.
So, Cyrus, right now the people do seem more concerned about the fuel hikes. That's all thanks to the war in Iran, the conflict in the Middle East. Cost of living is also high. Small businesses are struggling to stay afloat. Kenyans are known to hit the streets at the slightest inconvenience. So, are there plans to have those protests against this budget increase?
Well, yes, actually, tomorrow with the protest being planned in Nairobi, or rather, most parts of the country, because the people are saying the cost of fuel has gone high and unnecessarily. Police have been planning for the protests in one way or the other because they are deploying major urban areas. We hope that the protests will be peaceful so that those people are not injured or killed as it has been the first protest. So far, we don't have somebody who is owning the protest itself because this protest is being mobilized online. So we anticipate to see crowds forming here and there through online mobilization, and this will be difficult for even the security agencies to control in one way or the other.
We have seen, a change of policy, reversal in policy with Kenyans before. I think some of the most popular protests were the ones that happened, I think about two years ago. But this appropriation bill has already been signed. So any hopes perhaps that President William Ruto would listen? And can he stave off the implementation since it's already been signed until further notice?
Well, as you have put very clear, the bills now are low, and the agencies affected actually have been allocated the money. Now we can only plan from July, only when we have the main budget being read. As of now, there's not much we can do. It's only that we can only pick at our protest about the cost of living in general and the increase of the budget which the government is doing. Ruto, as you are putting, he listens because he fears that the protest may escalate to become more worse as it was in the year 2024. So far, he has been trying to address the issue of the cost of fuel by cutting the VAT on the fuel subsidies. So we hope that going forward, he's going to listen more and have this cost of living go down by slashing the cost of fuel in general.
Well, Cyrus, hang in there. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Determination and perseverance may be on the side of Senegal's former president Macky Sall, as he and 4 others will be auditioning for the top job in the United Nations, the role of Secretary General. The number of candidates is far fewer than it was 10 years ago when Antonio Guterres was selected as UN chief. Sall is the only African among those vying to replace outgoing Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who leaves office at the end of the year. Chile's former president, Michelle Bachelet, one of the 2 women and one of 3 from Latin America, will be the first to face ambassadors from the UN's 193 member nations during a 3-hour question and answer session on Tuesday. Bachelet will be followed by UN nuclear chief Rafael Mariano Grossi of Argentina. Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo is turning to China's manufacturing strength to accelerate infrastructure development and sustainable growth as he tours key industrial hubs during his first state visit since taking office in 2025. During a stop in Changsha, the capital of Yunnan province, Chapo visited advanced factories spanning electricity, heavy machinery, and agricultural processing. The Mozambican leader explored smart power systems, observed automated production lines, and tested modern logistics equipment, showcasing China's industrial capabilities. He emphasized his country's interest in replacing such facilities at home, pointing to Mozambique's urgent need for technology transfer and infrastructure investment. Well, a remarkable success story is unfolding in Kruger National Park, where the Mukalele community is redefining conservation. After reclaiming ancestral land decades ago, locals are now co-managing the region, turning it into a thriving hub for ecotourism and biodiversity. From elephants to rare bird species, the wilderness is flourishing, while tourism revenue is funding schools, jobs, and community development. Leaders say it's a powerful balance of social progress, environmental protection, and economic growth. Once displaced residents are now guardians of this land.
Way back in 1994-95, the Makuleke community launched a land claim with the restitution court, and they regained the land after a negotiation with Sandparks. From 96-97, the Makuleke community were in a negotiation process with Sandparks, and the process was concluded in 1998, where the land has to be used as a contractual park.
The land has been returned to the Makuleke community, the land inside the Kruger National Park, and then my life has changed a lot because I started working here from 2005, and then I got involved in this land, and I saw all the changes, but personally my life has changed because I benefited from this land, which is now the land of the community. It's our land, actually. So I benefited a lot, and then I really want to stay here on this land because it's like I work from home.
And we're ending the program with a fun fact about Africa. Did you know the ancient Egyptians developed hieroglyphics, built monumental structures like the Great Pyramids of Giza, and believed in over 2,000 gods and goddesses? Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh, was of Greek descent, reflecting Egypt's diverse historical influences. And now you know. Thanks for watching Network Africa. I'm Amarachi Ubani.